here in a little while. In his ruling, he has decided to uphold the fines and points penalties that were originally assessed and reduce the suspensions of the 7 team members from the next 6 championship points events plus the All-Star race to the next 2 championship points events plus the All-Star race. So those team members will miss race weekends at Darlington, the 2 weekends at Charlotte, and can return to the track for the Dover race weekend. This time I will step aside and have team owner Roger Penske say a few words. Roger.
Thank you, Kerry. Obviously today showed the process that NASCAR has in place for appeal process. I think it was fair and equitable. I said that last week. I obviously wasn't happy with the outcome a week ago with the 3-man panel, but today we had the opportunity to sit down across from John Middlebrook, the Chief Appellate Officer, and also John Darby. And John gave us specifics on our penalty, not just sections of the rule book. We were able to talk about areas that we worked in, which obviously were undefined in the rule book. And I think at the end, after consideration by John Middlebrook, the Chief Appellate Officer, he felt that the fines and penalties were overreaching and made the decision to reduce them. Obviously, I'm very happy with the outcome. I think that, as you know, this sport has been built on innovation. All of us try to innovate in areas that are not defined in the rule book. We were in that area, and to me, at this particular time, we'll go to the track at Darlington without our key members. Obviously, we have a real strong bench, and these folks will be at the track. We'll make the announcement that earlier in the week or later in the week. So, to me, it's past us now. We'll move on, and I would have to say again that the process was very fair and equitable. That NASCAR was able to provide for Penske Racing and our whole team.
How much does this help to have it brought down to just 2 races? It'll take some from your company to fill in the spots, but how much of a difference for you?
Well, I think the most important thing is this is over. This has been 2 or 3 weeks of constant questions, lots of emotion coming from the team members, from the media, and from the folks that are part of Penske Racing. I feel that our bench is strong, and that we have people that can step in for the 2 crew chiefs and the people that won't be here. So to me, it's going to be business as usual at Darlington.
Can you talk about what you talked about in the appeal? I mean, what were the points that you stressed to both the panel last week and to Middlebrook today?
Well, I think, obviously under the rules, we don't get into the specifics, of all the discussion, but I think the key thing was that, at the first appeal process, we went through, our situation, and we were given only specifics, titles in the rule book, in the areas that they felt that we didn't comply. Obviously, with a chance to meet with John Darby, and by the way, the conversation with Darby was very professional on both sides, and we had the opportunity to discuss our situation and place our position on the facts that we had. And I think overall we didn't make that decision. Obviously the Chief Appellate Officer did, from the standpoint of what the final penalties would be. But to me, I think it was a good outcome for everyone, and as I said earlier, we're going to move on.
Will this change how you operate in the future, Roger, with your crew chiefs and so forth?
Well, I would say this, that will it change us in the future? This is an innovative sport, and I can tell you that the other 43 cars that are out there, 42 cars that are out there, innovating every day. We're going to continue to look at areas that we can work in, which we feel are within the rule book, and obviously I don't want to get to the edge maybe that NASCAR felt we were in this particular situation, but we got to be competitive in order to win, and I think that there's some very creative guys that we meet every Sunday in NASCAR.
How much did you think you actually would win on appeal or get something back from the appeal? You said last week you believed in the process even after you lost the initial hearing.
Well, I think I took full responsibility for the issue. The team reviews with me things we're doing when we're working in a gray area. So from my perspective, I said we had to state our case, and the good news is, as was said earlier, that the process within NASCAR, is very fluid. the chance to come to 2 different hearings on your appeal. I think it's major in sports, and the fact that our facts could be delineated specifically and in detail, I think made a big difference. And to me, that's the important part of this appeal.
Roger, if you felt you were in the right with doing what the teams did, I mean, do you think the penalties are still too harsh? I mean, losing those points and having the suspensions?
All of us have lost points, 6, 8, 10, 12 points for certain infractions, over the years. I don't think this is something that we worry about. Obviously, we don't like it, but from my perspective, I think overall, the key thing is to have our people back, at the racetrack, operating in full control, and to me, that's most important. We have, 25 more races roughly. I don't know what the number before the chase is, but, if we're going to win and be a leader and win that championship again, we have plenty of time to do that. So to me, I just want to move on. This has been a good process. I've learned a lot, I would say this, and I'm sure the team has.
Roger, if this is the result you would have come up with last week, would we be here this week?
We would not be here.
Do you feel like you were confused or your team was confused as far as interpretation of the rules? I mean, these rules, 2 of the rules they cited are new to the rule book for this year.
I don't think that, Bob, that we were confused. I think that, as we interpreted the rules, and these are undefined areas as far as we were concerned, and we're operating in those particular areas. But obviously, with all the innovation, the NASCAR rule book, I can tell you, is thicker this year than it was last year. And I think because we got some great guys in the garage area that are innovating, and that's the business we're in.
What was, in getting at least the suspensions reduced this time, what worked, what went well this week as opposed to what didn't last week, do you feel? I mean, why didn't you get anything last week and you get this result today?
Well, I think that today we had the opportunity to meet with the chief appellate officer, and we had that opportunity in conjunction with NASCAR. John Darby represented NASCAR, and he was very open and frank. And this, quite honestly, was the first time that we had the opportunity to listen to John specifically to say these are the areas that we think you're over the line on. And obviously we had our rebuttal about that, and then of course the appellate officer had a chance to take into consideration all of the comments that we made and also NASCAR, and came up with a final ruling, which to me I think shows both sides probably had some skin in the game.
Would it be easier to have this type of process with the appeals panel from the beginning, and that both sides are in the room, as opposed to doing it separately last week and just having it done like today?
No, I think that I think the process is good. I think the panel obviously is the first step, and
sure.
You don't go to the Supreme Court on the first day. So I think that we operated within the guidelines,
sure.
And quite honestly, as I said earlier, I'm happy with the outcome.
Roger,